Hello my darlings. Today on my channel, I am going to show you how to create this glam double mirrored 3-story hors d'oeuvre stand that will be sure to be the envy of your guest at any one of your holiday parties. Stay tuned. For this project, you will need 4 packs of this gem studded tape. You will need 1 box of these 6-inch fillable pillars. You will also need 1 pack of crystal Dazzlers or any vase fillers of your choice. You will need either a Dollar Tree push light or, for added light and remote control, a submersible LED light. You will also need crystal garlands of your choice and an 8.5-inch decorative glass bowl. You will also need a topper for your stand. I'm going to be using this lighted caroler, and you will need some greening pins. Now for the mirrors, you are going to need 2 14-inch, 7-inch, and 9-inch mirrors each, 2 of each. And you are also going to need round foam flats in the same sizes, 1 14-inch, 1 9-inch, and 1 7-inch. Of course, you will need your handy dandy tools. Let's get crafting. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our layers for our serving tray. And the way we're going to do this is we are going to glue our mirrors, my 2 14-inch mirror on top and below of my 14-inch round, the same for my 2 9-inch mirrors, and the same for my 2 7-inch mirrors. And how we're going to do that is using a very familiar recipe here on this channel. We're going to go in with a foundation of E6000 glue, making sure that we are extending the surface area of this mirror to ensure a solid and permanent adhesion to this foam. Once we have placed our E6000, it is simply a matter of going in on top of that with our hot glue and working fast enough so that that hot glue does not dry, because it is that hot glue that is going to give us our right now adhesion so that we will be able to continue working. Once I have placed my glue, it is simply a matter of turning it over, being careful not to burn ourselves, finding our placement, and then applying some pressure on that mirror to ensure that not only our hot glue, but our E6000 glue has engaged as well. And so I'm going to repeat this exact same process with my other 14-inch mirror underneath, and then I'm going to repeat the process with both my 9-inch mirrors and my 7-inch mirrors. So now that our mirrors are dried, we are ready to place our base upon our mirror. And for those of you who have been with me for quite some time, you know that I like things or decor that are elevated. Seldom would you see me put something or create something that sits flat on a table that does not have any height to it. And so I'm going to be using that same premise with this craft. And as you can see, I am going in with my Gorilla Glue epoxy that I have mixed off camera, and I am placing it on the rim of this bowl. This rim is the only thing that's going to be making contact with the mirror. And the reason why I chose to use this epoxy as opposed to using our cocktail of E6000 and hot glue is because the epoxy is much better when you are gluing glass on glass. And so as you can see here, I stood up so that I could find find my placement. And if you're noticing that that bowl is shifting a little bit, and that is one caveat of working with your epoxy glass on glass. And so as you can see, I put my acrylic garlands to weigh it down, and I will set it to dry for a few minutes. So here we have our base that has been glued on the bottom mirror of our stand. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this acrylic garland and we're going to embellish the bottom layer of our stand. Now this acrylic garland came, I believe, 30 feet long. And what I was able to do was break it into bits and pieces that were 2 crystals in length. And that was going to give me the length I needed with this specific garland to get that hang and not have that garland be butting against the table. And as you can see, all I'm doing here to affix this to my stand is I'm taking my greening pin and I am sticking this almost on the bottom of that foam, right where that bottom mirror meets it. And so you really can't see it, and I'm going to give you another view in a few moments. But what I'm doing is I'm not even sticking that greening pin all the way in, and the reason why I am not doing that is so that our crystal garland will be able to retain that illusion of hanging in mid-air. And so one more, I'm just pushing it in right at the base of my foam, and I will show you what that looks like. And so here you have a side view of those acrylic garlands that I have placed within that foam. And as you can see, I have secured them to the very bottom of that foam, right on top where the mirror would start. Additionally, I have not pushed those greening pins all the way in because I want to ensure that my acrylic garland will also have some dangle. So here we have our acrylic garlands that we have hung around the base of our first layer. And so what we're going to do right now is we are going to place our gem studded tape around the diameter of this layer. Now, as you can see, the ribbon is actually only 12 inches long, and we are trying to fit it around a 14-inch diameter mirror, which means we are going to use one pack and some of another. But as you can see, what I'm showing you here is the texture that is on this tape, and I call it a tape, but it is not adhesive, nor can I call it a ribbon because it is not founded on or in cloth. But whatever material this is, whoever created this did a stunning job of doing so. And so as a result, or rather because it is backed on plastic, what we are going to use to glue this to our styrofoam is we're going to use our hot glue. Now the way I use my hot glue gun for this is I turned it on and I allowed it to heat up just a little bit, because what you do not want to do with this, you do not want to use high heat, because if you do, that backing will melt and your gems will fall off. And so I am just going around with my very tepid hot glue gun and I am affixing this to the styrofoam. Now luckily this tape is a little stretchy, not too much. There is some give to it, you can play with it, and so I would suggest just stretching it out a little bit so that you will get more bang for your buck. And then as you can see also, our acrylic gems are still dangling, and that is the effect we were going for. So here we have our first layer that has been prepared with our gem studded tape. Isn't it beautiful? Now what we're going to do here is we are going to start to build up our tray. And to do this, we are going to be using our pillars that we can place vase fillers in to give it that extra pizzazz. Now, as I have said in many other videos before, I tend to get excited when I'm building some of my projects, and as a result, inadvertently, I put some steps before others. And of course, I did this now because I wanted to show you what those pillars would look like with the vase filler in them. And I came to realize that when it was time to glue them down, I would have to dump all of the vase fillers out on my table. But anyway, as you can see, we're going to be using 2 pillars for the first layer because we want to make sure that that second layer, or that 9-inch mirror, is going to be well balanced. And what we are going to do, for example, like so. And so what we are going to do is we are going to glue these 2 pillars down to the first layer, and then we're going to place glue on top of them so that we can place our second layer on top of those pillars. And so to do this, we are going to use our E6000 glue, or I should say rather, let me take that back. I am going to use my E6000 glue in combination with my hot glue to glue these down. Now, here is a disclaimer or moment of transparency, or full disclosure, actually is the word that I'm looking for. Had I had an opportunity to go back and do this all over again, I would have used my Gorilla Glue epoxy for all of my gluing on this project, in terms of gluing the foundation to the mirror and now my pillars to the mirrors as well. And so even though I'm using the E6000 and the hot glue, I would recommend that if you are going to be replicating this project, you will use your Gorilla Glue epoxy instead. You're going to get a more sturdier hold and a faster hold at that. And so as you can see, what I'm doing here is just going around on the outline, and I used my marker to mark that place where I needed that column to sit on both sides. And I am pressing it down, applying some pressure to make sure that the glue that I just set down has made contact and is engaged with my mirror. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You can see the faint silver marks that I made, and I am making sure that I am putting down enough glue, but not so much where it's going to get goopy and ooey and sticky, since especially we are working with a mirror and we want our mirrored and our reflective surfaces to be as clean as possible. And so I'm going over the E6000 glue with a layer of hot glue, and I'm just going to use those 2 markers that I created before to place that column down. Once I have, I will apply some pressure, make sure that that column is sitting where I need it to sit. I will adjust it, of course, if necessary. And one thing with the epoxy is that you have a few minutes to adjust, whereas with the hot glue, not necessarily. And then once I have found my placement, I'm going to set this on a side to dry, and then I'll be back to show you what our next step is. So here we have our columns that have already been dried, and what we're going to do now is we are going to place our second layer on top of those 2 columns that are already there. Now, to do this, again, as I shared with you in the last segment, you are going to see me using a combination of that E6000 glue as well as my hot glue gun. But as I put this together, in hindsight, I wished I had used my Gorilla Glue Epoxy instead. And so again, I highly suggest that if you are going to replicate this process, you will do so using your epoxy glue. Now, what I had to do when I was finished this and I got it off camera, to me it just didn't feel as solid as I wanted it to do, and so I had to pick up that second layer, scrape all of that glue off, use some alcohol and some hydrogen peroxide to loosen up that glue and get it off of my mirror. And then I went in with my 2-part Gorilla Glue Epoxy and was satisfied when I did so. And so just continuing the process as I did when I filmed, just placing my hot glue, just a few beads of it, not necessarily too much, because all that hot glue is going to give you is your right now adhesion. And I'm doing it for both columns. And once I have placed that foundation of hot glue, which should have been Gorilla Glue Epoxy, I can't stress it enough, I'm then going to take my second layer and I am going to place it down. Now, as soon as it fell out of my hand, I knew that it wasn't in the right placement, and so luckily I was able to pick it up. So what you're gonna have to do here is maybe you can have someone with you while you are working on this project and placing your layers. My someone was my camera, and I was able to look up and see whether it was straight or not. But you are going to want to ensure that you are placing these layers not only straight, I said straight, but centered. All right, and now we are going to place the final column so that we can place our final layer, and this is just a sneak peek of what it's going to look like. So here she is, my darlings, not cleaned up or dressed up yet, but almost finished. And so to top this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place a caroler on top of my tray. And the reason why I picked her up is, one, she is made of acrylic, and not only that, she is also lighted. And so to put her down, I'm just going to use 2 quick beads of hot glue, because I do not want her to be a permanent fixture on my tray. If I wanted to use this for any other occasion, it will simply be a matter of popping her off and putting on another topper. And so this is why, for this reason, rather I should say, this step is entirely optional. So once she has dried, I'm going to clean up our tray, I'll set the table, and then I will be back to show you what the finished project all dressed up looks like. Well, my darlings, here you have it, our glam doubled mirrored 3-story hors d'oeuvre stand. Isn't she beautiful? Now, before I continue, I'd just like to tell you to say hey to Mr. Reindeer as he's making his cameo, just kind of introducing some fun things that I'm going to have coming up for our Christmas season. But beside that, one of the things I love most about this stand is just the reflection and the texture that you get from this thing going all the way around, from the mirrors to the gem studded tape to the acrylic gems to the glass bowl that so delicately reflects that LED light. My darlings, I am going to say, I think that we have nailed yet another project. Now, even though this tray is glamorous and does look as if you have bought it somewhere, I will say this to you: do not be afraid to be that one who brings a tray like this to the holiday party. Do not be afraid to be that one who presents your contribution to the family holiday dinner on this tray. I think more than your food, or rather along with your food, you will make a statement if you present your contributions on this tray. My darlings, if you have found value in this video, I ask you to do me 3 favors. Of course, please give this video a thumbs up. The second thing I'd like you to do is please leave me a comment in the comment section below telling me how would you use this tray. Is it going to be at one of your family affairs? Is it going to be at a wedding? Is it going to be at your New Year's gala or your holiday party? For my event planners, let me know how you plan on incorporating this tray into your business. I would love to hear from you. Lastly, the third thing that I would ask you to do is kindly share this video. Share our videos so that more people will be able to join our ever-growing community of DIYers and see what we are doing on this side of YouTube. To my Danny's darlings, I just want to say to you, thank you so very much for your love, your comments, your questions, your encouragement. Please know that it is not wasted, and I appreciate each and every single one of you. If you are not yet a Danny's darling, we humbly invite you to subscribe today and click that notification bell to ensure that you will be among one of the first to know when any of my videos are published. Listen, my darlings, before I sign out, I'm going to leave you with the motto of our channel, which is this: why buy when you can DIY? The holiday season is upon us, my loves, and with it, more than enough opportunities to show your crafting genius. My loves, my darlings, until next time, please take care of yourselves for me. Know that I love you all. Bye now.